Welcome to the Get Published podcast, sponsored by Brodie Consulting Group. To get more information about our coaching, publishing, executive ghostwriting, and podcast production services, go to getpublishedpodcast.com. Hello, I am Paul Brodie, and thank you for joining us for another episode of the Get Published podcast, where we help authors get published with a proven system that works. And today, we're being joined by Ayn Cates Sullivan, author of Heroines of Avalon and Other Tales. And welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. This is great.
Well, we are thrilled to have you. Are you ready to begin?
Let's go. Let's do this. Let's share our superpowers.
All right. Question number one. What is the one piece of advice that you would give to a first-time author who is currently writing their book?
I think it's really important that you love your material. I'm into sacred stories. If you have a fabulous story and you want to tell it and it's uplifting, it's going to help one other person, go for it. And I also think it's really important not to let rejection bother you. Sometimes we have to hold stories inside until they're ready to be birthed. And then when we're ready, at that point, if we can get a good team around us, a good editor, find a publisher that we really like, really get this story polished up, a precious pearl. I like to think of stories as precious pearls or diamonds that we're starting to share. Then we send them out into the world.
And what do you feel is the hardest part about getting published?
Well, let's face it, right now it's really easy to get published. You can just go on Amazon, you put your book up, and you got a book. Now, I think there's another part to that, though, because now we have thousands of poorly edited, poorly written books. They're flooding the market, so that's actually not what we want. I liked traditional publishing in a way because they really helped the authors come up with the best possible product. And so I think right now what's important is not about whether or not you can get published, but making sure you have the best possible book to send out there into the world, which is why I started Infinite Light Publishing. I have my own publishing company, and that's what I do inside the company is help other authors polish their works, make them beautiful, and my specialty is sacred stories, so that's what we put out.
Well, let's talk about marketing. So please share a marketing strategy that you have used in your book launch that has worked well.
So I have 2 Amazon bestsellers. I think you've got 15, so you're a bit ahead of me there. But what I've done, and we'll see with the current state of affairs how we're going to do this. I usually do it the old-fashioned way, which is that I have with the book launch, I have a party. I invite everybody over. Maybe we have 250 people at the house. And the idea is you want to sell out of books the first day. And while this is going on, while this sort of home, I might read my stories to people, have people maybe even do a workshop. I tell stories about empowered women, so we might do some sort of workshop. And at the same time, I combine that with my social media platform so that everyone feels involved in creating a success. And I think if it's a different type of contagious, you want everyone to smile together. And so I also have a podcast. And so I make sure that the books are available in all sorts of ways. And the other thing that I actually find quite helpful are book awards. And I've won over 30 literary awards, and that's a great thing too because somebody else has recognized the books, to go get legitimate reviews and to say, yes, look, this book has won 18 awards, Story Becoming won 18 literary awards, and that really helped it take off. And I think it had 50 5-star reviews, should still be there on Amazon, and that I think helped the book become a bestseller. But telling sacred stories and having a legitimate readership, people who love you, who love your work, who love your stories, that I think that's success there.
Absolutely. I love the fact that you mentioned about applying for book awards. So walk us through that process.
Well, there are many awards online. If you're an indie author, there's some really good ones. One of my favorite is IPPY, the Independent Book Publishers. I think it goes through the Independent Book Publishers Awards, I think. Anyway, that's actually Benjamin Franklin. Anyway, one's called IPPY. That's a great one. A lot of different genres that you can apply for there, and they have a great award ceremony in New York City. There's Benjamin Franklin Award through the Independent Book Publishers Association. There's who else? Another good one is Nautilus. I love their books and the things that they choose. The wonderful books for a better world. There's literary classics. So if you can go online and just search the top 10 book awards, Book Excellent Awards is another one, and pick out. Now you have to be a little bit careful because there's some people who will give you a award for some money, and that's not what you want. What you want are the legitimate awards, like IPPY. But if you win them, it gives you a little bit of credibility, and I think it's helpful.
And in regards to the awards, how much time does it typically take to apply for one of these awards?
Oh, I mean, you can go out, like right now, you could go into Reader's Favorite, apply for a free review, or you can apply to have a review that you pay for that comes a little quicker. And then you can enter their award ceremony. I mean, it takes 10 minutes if you have all your material together. And you could go through and you could apply to several. They usually charge something like $50. You can also... there are other awards too. Like I have won chapbook awards, and they're fun. Some of those are free, and you can say put your manuscript together and send it off. And if you win the competition, then they publish your book for you. That's a little more old-fashioned now, but that actually is still going on through universities in particular. But I mean, going up, like I won the cover award last year, which was great because I got up on stage and you have all the big publishers that are there, and I got to meet a lot of the presidents of the publishing companies, and so we started having some interesting dialogues about books in the future and how we can work together, and also let's see, the SIPA award is the one that I really like too. That's based in Colorado, the SIPA Evies. And I've won several of those. I was kind of shocked. I guess it was 2018 when Legends of the Grail came out. I think I won every fiction division I put it in and kept jumping back up on the stage, getting a little pinker each time. But it was a lot of fun. And of course, when you're laughing and you're holding up numerous awards and you're putting that out on social media, it gets people's attention and people want to know, oh gosh, why is this book getting so much recognition? So that's fun. And then plus you make a lot of friends, make a lot of new friends, and you meet other authors, and it's fun. Yeah.
Well, speaking of books, I'd like to know what is your favorite book and what was the number one thing that you learned from it?
Well, I have so many favorite books, but I'm going to go back to my childhood here because I had a very massive collection of Shakespeare, and I couldn't put it down. I kept reading it. Everyone thought I was slightly mad, but I was like, no, I love Shakespeare. He's a mystic. He's telling sacred stories. I want to do this too. So my favorite quote from Shakespeare, As You Like It, is this: all the world's a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. His acts begin 7 ages. So it's such a beautiful mystical quote, just helps us understand each cycle of life and that there's an even greater life that awaits us now. Yeah.
And for a final question, what is your favorite quote and why?
I just told you, actually, that was the quote.
I had a feeling that was connected.
That was the quote there. But I can give you another quote, but that's the one, all the world's a stage and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Anne,
so
I want to thank you.
It's important, I think, for us right now. Yeah. It is an important quote, but it's right now, if we think about it, the sacred stories, the sacred quotes, how we can share as bards, and in this time right now, how we can continue to uplift each other and help each other through a very difficult time that our country's going through, the globe is going through. And I think stories can help us live through the most difficult times. So thank you for doing the show.
I agree with you completely on that. This is a good time to get back with some reading and, endure. And I think that's really the main thing that we all got to focus on, is getting through this time and also maximizing the time. I know you and I talked before about, you're working on your next novel. I'm wrapping up my 16th book. It's one of those things where it's not only the time you have, but it's what you do with it.
Absolutely. It is. If we're going inside, this is a wonderful time, if you are a writer, to go in deep, to spend time in meditation practices, to connect to your muses, to take those novels out that you dust them off and finish them up. And to really, I think we could really grow in terms of consciousness as all of humanity could become more conscious right now. We could actually grow up, live different, really help the planet thrive. We could hold hands together globally right here on these networks, these podcasts, and we can uplift together. We can shift up into a frequency of love and get past this phase and walk into a new time together.
Well, Ann, I want to thank you for being a guest on this show. What is the best way for people to find you online?
I'm easy to find. My first name is spelled A-Y-N, so it's a little bit different. So you can go to AynCatesSullivan.com, find my website. I have my own podcast on the Superpower Up network. It's called Wisdom of the Ages, and I have all sorts of authors and fun stories on that podcast. So I hope you'll come and listen. And you can also check out my publishing company, which is infinitelightpublishing.com.
And thank you once again for being on the show, and I wish you all the best in your author journey ahead.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for joining us today. To learn more about how to get your book published with a proven system that works, grab a free copy of my book at getpublishedpodcast.com.